if you were to be talking to, let's just say, a young man who is about to be a father, what kind of advice would you give
Well, I mentioned patience earlier on, and that is where that is a big place to be is patience. My son has just become a father about 9 months ago,
him?
and I watch him with the baby, and I see his gentleness, and I see his love. I can, express it in the things that he does. Um, but I know that over time, when that child start walking and talking and throwing things at him, and throwing things on the floor and spilling things, it's going to be a different,
Oh yeah.
be a little different. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think patience is one of the first things that we need to learn, and that that the baby is not just uh, a toy or something. It's not a puppy. It's a
Right.
real live person. It's a human
Hmm.
being, and this is where you begin to show patience and you begin to show respect and show some dignity in how you handle things. So it's
Hmm.
and give the mothers a love to love. I think moms deserve so much. I think that
Hmm.
if dads don't show moms the love, the children will not know how to love either. So that,
That's true.
they got to show the mom the love.
That's true. Excellent. Well, that's great advice. Um, because one of the other conversations with the ladies was that, nobody gives you a rule book of how to become a parent.
You know.
And so we just sort of learn as we go.
Hmm.
And sometimes that crashes and burns. Sometimes, you know, if we call on the Lord early enough, He helps us to get through it
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Keep you out of trouble. That's for sure. There is no
Yeah.
book. There is no guidebook for it. But I think there's enough we see around us, and just the love that God puts in our hearts. You know, for one another, even before you have children. We
Mhm.
know how to begin to show love for people around us. So, and a little person
Mhm.
needs more because they're helpless, basically.
Right.
Hmm.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about your walk with the Lord. When did you become a Christian and how did that happen?
Oh yeah, that's a good story. I love to talk about that. I was back in the day. You might say back in the day when we had the annual um, services here at our church here in Jacksonville. Um, Pastors would come from Alabama and places, and they would preach like a revival. And I used to see these guys and hear their sermons and watch the elders and the the deaconesses and just the church members and respond to them. Um, and it was unique. It was different
Mhm.
from being in school or playing in the yard and stuff like that. When I turned 16, I had seen a lot of that and had seen a lot of it at home because we had prayer every day at home in our house and Bible Bible reading and Bible study and Bible the whole scriptural thing. And but something touched me when I was 16. I was at one of these meetings and I said when they come to town again because they would come to town twice a year from Alabama, and I said when they come this time, when they come next time, I think I'm gonna commit myself to Christ. I just something that's make me want to do it. I see people, and I'm excited about their excitement. There's something about a saved person that
Mhm.
does something to the unsaved person that is seeking, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And I could, I wanted what they had. I
I
wanted
see.
to be a part of what they were experiencing.
Mhm.
And so I went up and said I wanted to commit myself to Christ. I wanted to accept Him as my Lord and Savior, and it was
Mhm.
the best thing that ever happened to me. You know,
Wow. Mhm.
I say that it was the best thing that ever happened because I know that it was because from 16 to 76, a lot of things went in from, let's say, from 16 to 36, from 16
Mhm.
to 46 to 56. There were a lot of challenges in life.
Mhm.
My big challenge was going there a couple of years later after accepting Christ. Um, I went into the military. I went into it was in Vietnam,
Mhm.
and I took with me a little Bible, little Bible that I kept in my ammo pouch, and I
Mhm.
would read my scriptures and thank God for life and for and I made it back. I mean, a lot of guys didn't make it
Amen.
back,
That's
and so
right.
yeah, that was one of the first tests of how God was looking out for me. I was so proud of being um, a returning veteran. I know a lot of guys talk about how we were treated poorly when we came back, and I was just thankful to be back home, you know.
Mhm.
And but anyway, that was kind of like the start of my um, Christian walk. Um, and then there was a big break in between. I got married, and but I'm always in church, always going
Right.
wherever I was in church. Wherever I went, I would go to
Mhm.
church and participate. And later on in life, I became, I had a real um, serious legal problems in my life that really uh, had me thinking about my life, about me, what I needed to
Mhm.
do with me in my situation. Not only that, I had post traumatic stress from Vietnam. My life was just a mess
Mhm.
emotionally. I think only by the grace of God I was able to be successful. You see that bio. I was very successful, but very, very, um, you know, troubled. I guess you might say. Only by
Mhm.
the grace of God, I was able to get through all of that.
Right.
And then um, I mentioned some time ago to you about how God carries us on His back, and we don't realize that He's carrying us on His back. That everything is working, and then
Mhm.
we find our feet dragging in the sand, and it's because He's letting us start walking on our own. And
Right.
that is a period of time I began to understand that God was trying to tell me that you need to stand up for me,
Yeah. Time to grow up a bit more.
to grow up. That's right.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I am so thankful, and there's a lot of stuff happening between that. But I got involved in. I've always been, even as a teenager, I was help out in Sunday school. I would do that, and finally, I guess about 20 years ago, um, I got the opportunity to actually get involved in Bible study teaching at one of the churches there in Jacksonville. And so everything, in my opinion, is based on God's love for me. And I, when I talk to people about it, I'm emotional, and I'm sincere
Mhm. Right.
that God loves me, and I'm sincere that He loves you too if you allow Him to come into your life and
Mhm.
to help you, govern and manage, your daily activities and everything else in
Mhm.
your life.
Right.
Mhm.
Wonderful. So one of the things that comes to mind when I think about Father's Day and I think about uh, the different fathers that there are, um, there was a quote that I read. An anonymous person wrote this quote, and I just like to see what you think about it. The
Okay.
quote said, "Where the father is absent, there is a hole in a man.
Right.
Where the father is absent, there is a hole in a man." What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's some value to that statement, because some of the things that a man needs to know and learn, I think that a young boy needs to learn and know he gets from his father or from the man in the house.
Mhm.
Um, and like like for me, I can attest to that because even though I had a father in the house, he wasn't always there. He wasn't
Mhm.
always acting and representing it, presenting himself in the best way. And I believe that sometimes um, it it does leave a void, sort of, that needs to be filled. And my thing is that growing up, because he wasn't there all the time, or he wasn't there when he needed to be, he didn't answer questions, or didn't have conversations with me that I needed to have with him about life in general, just about being
Mhm.
a boy, being a man. Um, I sort of gravitated to the other senior men around in the community
Mhm.
who were um, uh, Christian men.
Mhm.
You know, it was about five of them right in the general neighborhood there that we learned. My brother and I learned from them meaningful and useful um, skills. Um, I guess mannerisms too, uh, behaviors,
Mhm.
and so they sort of fill that hole that Dad did not, that he had left vacant. I think.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
I think that it's important for um, and when a woman doesn't have a husband or a man in the house, is I think it's important for her to try to connect with a supporter or a man or father or nephew or cousin or uncle that can help those boys, that boy, if it's just one, to
Mhm.
have something to rely on and to see
Mhm.
how he can develop, particularly if it's a good example. This whole process of exampling and respect and
Right.
leadership is important because I learned leadership and I learned how to be. I saw there were examples that the men around me presented that I was able to learn from. So that hole can be filled,
Mhm.
even if it's not with the biological dad.
Right. Wonderful.
Let me say
Um,
this too. Let me say this too about that
mhm.
whole. I think sometimes a very strong mother can help bridge that gap as well.
Mhm.
I think that
Mhm.
because just sometimes children are born, they're raised without a father completely, and the
Mhm.
mother has to take on that, on that responsibility of trying to fill that hole and try to help these boys to understand that manhood is not just growing up and being, different from a girl. It means that there are some responsibilities and unique skills and purpose that they have to have in life as well.
Mhm. Yes. And when it comes to that statement, also, I believe it may also be true when it comes to girls.
Yes.
It's like the father has a responsibility to the girl also, and there's a void left in the daughter without a father, I think.
I agree. I agree because the girls are looking at the dad, trying to see how he's relating to mom.
Hmm.
I mean, if he's strong, if he's sensitive, if he's smart, they're going to sort of like want to, latch onto some of those qualities so they'll know how to pick their own man, at
Hmm.
some point in their lives. And so, yeah, um, the girls are looking too. And I think that that's when I say that it's important for respect. And the father has to show some examples, some good examples with the mother, show her respect, treat her well, you know, do the things that are important that make a family strong.
Right, that's great. So I'm I just think that everything you shared is really really an important thing for people to take note of when it comes to fatherhood. And is there anything else that you can think of that might be helpful for people to know regarding fatherhood as we get ready to celebrate the dads?
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was something very unique that I could say about fatherhood, but I think as I started off this interview with you, starting with the respect um, and leadership, I think those and examples, those three, respect, leadership, and setting a good example, um, are probably paramount with prayer. Uh,
Mhm.
so And anytime we look around at our grandfathers and fathers and husbands or whatever they may be, those are some of the qualities we're looking for. Does he respect me? Does he
Mhm.
set a good example? Is he a good leader? Is he a praying man?
Mhm.
And so, if we can latch onto those, I think God will make a way for all the rest.
Mhm.
Keep praying.
Wonderful.
Keep praying.
I, I'm going to ask you kind of a sideway question, which is like kind of like a counseling question,
Hmm.
because I get this conversation all the time among women who are single, okay,
Yeah.
and they are looking to be married, or some of them are really young, much younger than me, and
Yeah.
they've never been married, and so they are looking for or wanting to be with a spouse,
Mhm.
and what kind of counsel would you give them when it comes to, if they were your daughter, what would you say to them about, you know, uh, their desire to be married or to find someone in their life? What would you tell them to look for?
You're making me laugh. I'm laughing because I think I told you that when I met my wife, I prayed so hard for guidance,
Okay,
spiritual
so
guidance.
prayer.
Yes,
Write that down.
yes. Ask him. He said,
Pray.
ask for what you want. And
Mhm.
I think that is one place that we really need to take time to and because what we do, we're looking for a good looking mate. We're looking for somebody who has
Mhm.
money, who has,
Mhm.
is out there doing his or her thing and exciting. We're always looking for all of that kind of exciting.
Mhm.
But I think if we just stop, if a young person would just stop and say, "Dear Lord, I'm going to leave it up to you
Mhm.
to guide me and to lead me and to bring a person into my life that is good for me, not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but for
Mhm.
long term,
Mhm.
and bless me and give me guidance, and I'm going to trust you." It'll happen. I honestly and truly believe it'll happen. And
Mhm.
I say that because it happened to me. And I think that in all of my experiences in life are based on all of my good experiences are based on the fact that God has rescued me, He has provided for me, He has given me what I need.
Mhm.
And He has said that whatever you need, if you ask in my name, trusting and believing, I'll give it to you. So
Mhm.
that's the only thing I can tell them.
That's awesome. That's perfect advice, I think. I think it's perfect if you say, look, give that desire to God. Who else knows the
I mean,
best fit? Nobody knows it but him. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Because everything else fails.
Mm,
Everything else falls apart. If God
right.
isn't in it, there's no point in you even getting yourself involved.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Well,
Mhm.
that was wonderful. Yeah.
Good.
A little surprising. I thought you were going to give me like two, three bullet points, but I like what you said. I like what you
Yeah,
said.
right
That's
on.
awesome.
Yeah,
Just to the point, you
yeah.
know. Well, I just want to say to you, thank you so much for taking your time to do this interview. I know that a lot of what you've shared will be beneficial to those who are watching, and I want to say Happy Father's Day to you. Thank you for your service in the military. I know that having suffered through PTSD from Vietnam is no joke, but I thank you for your service and loving your family and your country enough to serve.
And I do love my family dearly. I mean,
Mhm.
every one of my sisters and brothers and nieces and nephews. Yeah, and God has given me the ability to stay strong. And, I'm rated at 100% disabled veteran. On top of all of the other stuff that all of the resume stuff came out after
Mhm.
all of my
Mhm.
injuries in Vietnam. But God has been good, and I trust Him. That's all I'm telling you. I trust Him. I believe in Him, and I just hope that someone, whoever hears this message, this interview, will understand that our hope must be in God, because there is no other choice. There is no
Right.
other. There's no other. You know, resource that
Right.
can provide us all that we need.
Right. Outstanding. Well, thank you once again.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to wrap it up and say thank you for
You're
being
welcome.
a part of Hope and
Yeah,
have the best and most wonderful Father's Day coming up soon.
and it's so good to see a big smile on your face.
Thank
Thank
you.
God. Okay.
Thank you. All right. We'll see you next time.
All
We'll see
right.
you
Take
soon.
care.